Hey there, Amplifiers. Thanks for tuning in. You know what's really cool is when someone actually takes the knowledge and expertise and they take some good advice about niching and then they do it and they crush it. And our guest today is an example of someone who did just that. And not only has he done it for himself, he's also helping hundreds of people across the country, maybe even around the world, really transform their business, 10x it, and take it to a completely different level because there is riches in the niches. So I'd like to welcome to Growth Amplifiers. He's a CPA. He's the founder of Dope CFO, Andrew Hunsaker. Andrew, thanks for being with us today.
All right. I'm very glad to be here.
No, it's really cool to have you on the show to see what you've been able to create. And I'd love to hear the backstory of how you got to be where you're at now. If we could take just a few moments just to catch people up to say, how did this cool thing called Dope CFO, which is dope, by the way, how did it get to be come into existence?
And dope's a cool word because it does mean cannabis, but it also means cool. For the kids will tell you, or cool and fun, and so it is a good name. So if you notice my accent, I'm from Oklahoma. I live in Oregon now, but I spent most of my career down there. I was in Big Four and Price Waterhouse. I was audit manager in the 90s. From 2010, I was CFO of a series of entities that was worth in the hundreds of millions with 200 employees. And so that was a 10-year position. And then 2010, me and my boss, a company we co-founded, in the midst of that, we sold to Chesapeake Energy. And when that happened, I moved to Oregon, where I was vacationing, Bend, Oregon, and kind of semi-retired and did fractional CFO work. So I was just kind of getting into it. I moved here, didn't know anybody, had no connections or network or anything. Turns out the high-tech community is pretty big in Bend, Oregon. A lot of transplants from Silicon Valley here, vacationing here, basically.
Mm-hmm.
It's an easy flight from San Fran. So I kind of got involved in that neck of the woods. But really, if you go back decades, especially in the accounting world, and whether you're talking bookkeeping, accounting, tax CPAs, national firms, regional firms, small firms, most people, even back in the 90s, we didn't have the internet even. We serve clients kind of like doctors do in our neighborhood down the street. We drove over there and we could only serve people locally. And so the whole idea of niching did not work that well. But when I got out here in Oregon, the same deal. I moved to Bend, Oregon. There's only 80,000 people here. I was like, what am I going to do? And I was looking around my neighborhood. I took a program. I invested in myself. It was I was like, how do I find clients? I want to have some clients. And I took one of these programs, and the guy told me, he's like, Andrew, you should pick a niche and become an expert. And I was like, I've never thought about that before. In fact, I've done the opposite. I would go and tell any client, I'd brag and say, I've worked with nonprofits and oil and gas and retail. I don't care what it is. I'll do anything for anyone.
Yes, I'll be everything to everyone. Jack of all trades, master of none, right?
But it was, and really the thousands of dollars I paid that person, I tell people still today, I was like, everything else in his program, I knew already. It was a waste of time. But it was worth $7,000, which is what I think I paid him, just for that, because it never crossed my mind. I was like, oh, that's an interesting concept. Pick a niche. And sure enough, it's not only easier to get good clients, it's easier to serve them. You're doing the same thing for everybody, which means your stress level's lower. You get rid of imposter syndrome instantly.
You can start getting deeper into their challenges, getting deep into things that are working. Buzz goes around, more people start knowing you for this, you start attracting more people. It's just really a win-win-win. And I know this is something I'm an advocate for. And the common thing that I hear is fear prevents us, because it's a little bit of I don't know. It seems like it might cut off opportunity if you're like, oh, no, I'm only going to do this. So it seems like it's going to be cutting off so much opportunity because you could be doing all these other things. But as you just pointed out, it actually creates more opportunity. It elevates what you're able to provide. And it really is transformational. You had shared something with me prior to getting on this call about kind of like that top shelf approach. And that's something that I can see it from how you're positioning yourself. I can see it from, I've talked to a few other dope CFO guides who really know their stuff, who are really focused, who are driving results. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah.
How that comes into play?
So again, speaking to this niche of accountants and bookkeepers, et cetera, if you and a prelude to top shelf product is make sure the most biggest mistake I see is people picking the wrong niche. If you pick, say, hair salons or I don't know, whatever, nonprofits, then you're like, wait a minute, Andrew, you told me to pick a niche and become an expert. Yeah, you don't want to pick the wrong niche and bat your head against the wall for 2 years and find out, oh, it's overserved, or the average mom and pop is not multi-million. So here's a great example, because I get this one a lot. Andrew, I picked realtors and brokers. Well, and then I flip back to them. Did you know that 84% of realtors and brokers are out of business within 2 years? And so you don't want your target market to be 84% of people going bankrupt, and then another 10% probably make $100,000 or less. And if they make $100,000, how much can they pay you? $1,000, $2,000? We need clients in the multi-millions. So you need a very rapidly growing niche. You need a niche that has lots and lots of startups in it, whether it's high tech or cannabis or medical equipment. There's got to be a lot of startups. So get that piece right before you. That's step one. Then we'll get into delivering a top shelf product. And so in the accounting world, that starts with really what we call rock solid. It's the foundation, accounting and bookkeeping, and not just, oh, I enter transactions. No, we go back at the end of the month and we do what we call tick marks and tie-outs. We build a permanent audit trail. So the books and records are always audit ready. So any high growth company in any good niche is going to be dealing with lenders, investors, capital. The IRS will be coming after them. We simply have to have them ready. We call it exit ready from day one all the way through exit. And so that's the start of delivering that top shelf product. When I say that word, and in other industries, I'm thinking of, again, I mentioned Rolex or Four Seasons or Lamborghini or, maybe even Tesla. When you instantly think, oh, that's the top product, we want to be delivering that, because first and foremost, the 3 million accountants in the U.S., 99% of them are not delivering that. They're not giving a top shelf product. They're having tons and tons of clients. They're delivering very quick bookkeeping with no deeper dive, no CFO services. So they're delivering that at a pretty low level right now. So we think it's low hanging fruit.
Low hanging fruit, and you know what? Another thing that blocks people. There's the one, like, I'm going to be cutting off all the options, right?
Yeah.
But it's counterintuitive. No, you actually, when you focus, you have a more niche focus, you're going to create more opportunity. The other thing is, how can I charge so much? How's that even possible? The people that I have now, I'm not even charging that much, and the people I have now, they're not even wanting to pay for that. And you just mentioned something. When you're servicing high tier clients, they can afford it, they can appreciate it, and the transformation that you provide to them is critical. It's a small little nudge to a high tier company can be hundreds of thousands of dollars to that small mom and pop. Like you said, you might be providing a lot of value, but they just might not have the revenue to afford the value that you provide.
Yeah, it's a great point you make. And so, yeah, maybe all of us want a Lamborghini, but if I try to sell you a Lamborghini and you don't have $500,000 extra just laying around with nothing to do, you may not be able to buy it. So we don't want to focus a lot of our marketing efforts on, like, oh, I took this marketing program. They told me I just need to offer you this $8,000 a month package. Well, if your revenues are $9,000 a month, you're not going to be paying me $8,000 a month. The math doesn't work, and we're supposed to be good at math. So we want to make sure, we have companies that a company making 10 million that's trying to get to 20 million in sales over the next 3 years, they can easily pay $400,000 or $500,000 a year in accounting, CFO, and deep dive services. So again, what most people do in the accounting world when they go on their own, they pick the lowest priced services. They either do bookkeeping or tax returns. Those two services are commodities that people are pricing below $10 an hour often. So that's not where the money is.
And right now, if you haven't been seeing it, the AI is changing this for a lot of people. I just had a client of mine who had lost within the past week 2 clients, not going to name any names here, to AI, a multi-million-dollar company starting to the same AI within a week, which sounds like 2, but it's like, get ready for the wave. You don't want to be in a commoditized business where you can easily be replaced by automation. And if you're providing higher tiered, more focused service, more expertise and knowledge, it's a different world. You're not in that same bucket. One more point. Think about it. If you're tuning in, when people who get top shelf service go to a top shelf restaurant or hotel or whatever, they ask for what they want, they get a price, they typically will just pay it. They're not haggling over pricing. Yeah. They have the money to afford it, but the squeaky wheel are the ones who are at the discount market complaining about how much it costs for the extra little perk that they're trying to get. So long story short, more affluent clients tend to be able to afford it, and they tend to be able to work with you easier. So just wanted to share that point.
Yeah, and it's a deeper dive of service and to deliver that product. So if you have 3 clients paying you $200,000 a year each, you're making $600,000. You don't need 10, 20 clients. You might need only 2 clients. And then if you only have 2 or 3 clients, what does that mean? You can go way, way deeper with them every single week. You're not doing what everyone else is doing, including the big national firms, dipping in quickly once a month or whatever. Or, if you send an email to anybody at a national firm, and I know this because I deal with all the national firms right now, if you hear back from them, if you get a response within a week, you're doing really good. And CEOs of these rapidly growing companies need a lot more than a response to an email once a week. So again, that's kind of low-hanging fruit as well. I say you don't need any letters behind your name to deliver great service. And so more low-hanging fruit. And by the way, we all deal with this. Think about it. The airlines, if you want to change your ticket, or you want to say you're not happy with Facebook or Google or Apple or whatever, and you want help. Like I got a new Apple computer and something wasn't working. It's like, who do I call? How do I get help when I need it? Or we're accountants. Good luck trying to call the IRS and getting help or whatever. So we're all used to dealing with this. Or you call whatever the software that you're dealing with, and they send you to someone in India, and you can't communicate very well. So we're all craving better service than we're getting, whatever it is.
Top shelf.
Well,
white glove.
I call it TSP, top shelf product. So I'm going to give you a Lamborghini, but I'm going to deliver it to you with white glove service. So white glove service is, so for example, I've got a Honda CRV, the newest, latest, greatest. My wife has got a Mercedes that costs twice as much as my car. And if you looked at them side by side in our garage, they look, and they not only look, they drive, feel, they have all the same bells and whistles and leather. They look the same, but when my wife goes into Mercedes, they treat her like, the King of England or whatever. And they're giving her, I mean, sometimes it's just easy, stupid things. The Mercedes dealer, at the Honda dealer, they got a peanut tray. At the Mercedes dealer, they've got 12 different candies and 4 different kinds of lattes or whatever. So it's just treating you with that, and people will pay for it. They want to have that level of product delivered with that great service.
I think that's a great point. So it's how you're showing up. It's how you communicate who you are as a person. You put out that frequency. People become knowing you for it. You're going to start attracting those opportunities. So question for you, my friend. For those people that have been doing things a certain way for a long time, that's how they started to do things.
Yeah.
What can they start doing to start changing that? I've learned some things about mental fitness. I've been trying to help people break through mindset blocks. Usually that's what I found being the biggest barrier, is they have habits and beliefs that have them acting and behaving in a certain way, and they need to be able to shift that in order to start acting, behaving in a different way to get a different result. How can you start that process? What have you seen that works?
Well, yeah, and I say a lot of these things are real simple. So if you're a service provider, it doesn't matter if you're a plumber or an accountant, again, delivering that great product with good service, what happens if you do that to one client? They're a happy customer. And once you have a happy customer, that's going to be all you need to grow your business. And so that's super simple. Now, the good news for us, so I've had many businesses. When we launched Forest Drilling in 2006, we raised $40 million on day one. And then we had to borrow $30 million to build 7 drilling rigs that cost $78 million or something like that. So we've raised a lot of money. Or my wife opened a dishware and bedding store in Bend, Oregon in 2014. Good gracious, I thought it was going to be cheap, and we had to buy $200,000 of inventory and fixed assets. And then we needed to hire laborers, and we had to pay rent and all this stuff. The good news, again, if we're an accountant, we need a laptop and a phone. I tell people, you've already got it. Mm-hmm. You have a Zoom, Excel, Google, your laptop, your phone. You don't need accounting software. We make the clients pay for that. You've got that. You have one asset that you need to invest in. That is you, yourself and you. And so we want to invest in ourselves. 2 things, time and money, every single week, every single month, every single year. Sometimes the investment is cheap. I'm going to listen to a podcast, or I'm going to follow someone on Twitter, or I'm going to go to Barnes & Noble and buy a book. By the way, I just read the book, 4,000 Weeks, finished yesterday. It's excellent. I would highly recommend that. And by the way, I practice what I preach. So we call it a VIP balloon in your niche. You're a valuable expert. You're an instructor. And instructing can sometimes be doing this. I'm instructing right now. I'm sitting in my house on a podcast. Maybe I'm instructing at a luncheon with 2 people at my table, or maybe I'm standing on a stage, and then participate. I get involved in the niche. I volunteer time. I help social equity applicants. I give back. I'm part of the AI CPA conference. And so I call it a balloon. And that it just is where it is. If my balloon's teeny, I want that balloon to get bigger until the day I retire. It's never going to stop. And I'm going to be, there's no like, oh, I've got to do all these things first. It's just do what you can. If you're build that expertise and always be looking for your weakness. So just like when you're weight training, if you're really good on accounting, but you're scared to market and go talk to people, maybe take a marketing program. Maybe you're bad on time management or organization, which is huge in accounting. If you're unorganized, take a program or read a book or whatever it is to get more organized. And so you just always focus on your weaknesses. And you slowly get bigger, better, and greater. And to me, it's the good news. We don't have to buy buildings or assets or inventory.
I think that's number one. That's really awesome. Number 2, I'm noticing something about your persona that's different from maybe the average accountant, bookkeeper. And it's just you have a natural flow about you. You have an energy about you. And I've connected, not with everyone. I'm not trying to make black or white associations here, but it's common for a bookkeeper and accountant to be a bit more reserved, a bit more introverted. And I know when I was a young boy growing up, I was very shy myself. I grew up, I lost that shyness because I played in bands, I played music,
Yeah.
but I hadn't developed communication skills. And to your point, I went to Toastmasters, went through
Yeah.
Toastmasters to develop communication and leadership skills, which then got me into professional speaking, going to the National Speakers Association. Long story short, that is exactly what you're saying, getting people to identify where are my strengths and where are those bottlenecks that are holding me back that I might need to put some attention on. So if communication is someone's challenge, then you don't have to be an outroverted person. You can be an introvert. I just read The
Yeah.
Introvert's Edge. You can be an introvert, but practicing those communication skills so that you can be more effective when you're having those conversations.
Well, yeah, and that's great. And by the way, so I don't know, I talk to maybe 15 or 20 accountants a week on the phone, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't outsource to sales teams. I want to talk and know people because people come in my community. I want world-class people. And I've done this for years. So I think I've talked to 5,000 or 6,000 accountants and bookkeepers. And you're right. Most of them tell me they're introverts. Most of them tell me they hate sales and marketing. That's their weak point. They're really good on accounting, but they just want to sit in their home. But so, yes, exactly that. We want to patch our balloon up. So first and foremost, if we can learn more education or skills, whether it's a podcast or going to a 3-day live event, Tony Robbins or whatever, we're going to constantly do those on the education side. We're going to keep accumulating tools that we can use. So like in our program, we have over 100 tools that can provide world-class CFO services. And then the other piece is, and this, you reminded me of this, community. So like in our community, say in Dope CFO, there's 500 of us. Say you're a bookkeeper. I'm thinking of one guy, Nick. He came in recently. He's in Florida. He's like, I'm a bookkeeper. My accounting skills I'm not a CPA. You know, I've only taken a couple of accounting classes, but I am a world-class marketer. I know everybody. I go to all these events. And he immediately, well, I was like, great, Nick, you can go in, you don't always just have to you can improve your accounting, but you can also say, which he did, hey, Danny, you're also in Miami. You're a CPA and a rock star accountant, but you don't really have the time or the energy for marketing. I'm going to go pull in some clients and we'll work together. So I can say, we do this and we do that. And so you can sometimes patch your leaks. By pairing with somebody else. So sometimes it's not only, yes, you want to keep getting better, but in the meantime, if you're really weak at marketing and you find someone who's great in marketing, you're a perfect match.
Hey there, this is Kenny from Growth Amplifiers, here to ensure you get your awesome ideas into action to grow and improve your business and achieve your full potential. Take the first step by visiting growthamplifiers.com and clicking the Start Here button. Take the assessment to get your personalized score. Then select from free resources to learn how to improve your score. Don't wait. Be proactive and take action now by visiting growthamplifiers.com and clicking the Start Here button. And always keep on amplifying. Now, let's get back to the show. One of the things that we believe in at Growth Amplifiers, because we help people with optimizing their marketing and sales. And a lot of times people have that bad experience about sales. They're like, I'm not good at sales. I don't like sales, because they have an understanding of what they believe sales to be. But in most cases, they had a bad sales experience when someone else was trying to push their agenda on whoever they were talking to, probably on that person. And so if you've had an experience where people are pushing you away and you're like, I don't like doing that, I don't want to be a pusher, you don't need to be a pusher. You simply need to communicate the value that you provide. Hey, you have something you want. I have something that can help get you what you want. If you'd like help getting where you want to go, let's have a conversation. There doesn't need to be a sales pushing agenda. You don't have to be a salesperson. It's about building the relationship and clearly articulating that the transformation that you provide from where someone's at now to where they want to go.
And if you do that right, and again with the top shelf product, the beauty of that is if you're a Lamborghini or whatever, you don't have to be like, I can't remember seeing a Lamborghini ad, but I know they're doing fine. And people will come to you and be like, yeah, you're doing the best. The customers say it. You don't need to sell anything. So we don't do that in our program either. We're like, look, here's what we offer. We know. So the Dope CFO product we know is the best. There's nothing that touches it. And so it's like, I'm not going to sell you anything. Here's what it is. Do you want it? Here's the price for it. If you don't want it, fine. We'll wish you well. We put out a ton of free content as well. Now, most people, I see this all the time on LinkedIn, and I see it done even by marketing experts, and I'm not a marketing expert. And LinkedIn is the classic place. I get, I don't know, 15 connection requests a day. I get, and almost all of them just immediately, it's like skipping first, second, and third base with your future wife and like meeting somebody like, oh, the first message is, hey, I do this. I want to sell you this before we've ever even talked or whatever. And I'm like, that's not how you market. That's the worst way to market in my possible ideas.
Yeah, that is hunting. The thing is, it can work a very small percentage of the time. So that you just might happen to find that one person that has that need. And then you're going to be like, it works. Let's continue being an ass. Yeah. But I'm telling you now, that is skipping stages. That is not thinking about helping others. It's pushing an agenda. It pushes people away. So if you're listening now and you're out there trying to push your stuff on people like that, please stop. You're making it harder for the rest of us to build relationships, because then people will tune us out, right?
And when I used to do, I've already done a sales call this morning. When someone calls me or we do a call, I used to be like, I got to tell them all these things that we have in our program. Now our sales calls are super simple. I make sure they're qualified. Like, are you a real accountant? You got a degree or whatever it is? And if you're an accountant in a one-person firm, I say, look, after the call, I've made what I call a sneak peek video that shows you our program, the inside of it, the pricing, all the bells and whistles. So I'm not going to waste your time with that. I'm just going to simply answer any questions you have. And after the call, I know you'll get an email where you can vet me in the program all you want. And then I can just sit there and learn about you and ask questions. And I have zero agenda to tell you. I'm just going to answer whatever you ask me and help you if I can along the way.
I'm going to be a concierge. I'm going to be a consultant and guide you to what's best for you based on where you're at. I love it. I love your approach, Andrew. I love what you've created. So those who are interested and they're like, man, this guy really knows his stuff. I'm kind of curious to know what opportunities he has. Where could they go, and what's something that they should or could do?
Well, go dopecfo.com is probably the easiest way to find us, or you can email me at andrew@dopecfo.com. We're easy to find on social media or Instagram. We have a podcast as well on YouTube that has mostly it's me interviewing my students in the program. So that's a good place. I teach at the AICPA. So if you're a CPA and want to learn about cannabis, come to Boston this summer. I'll be there speaking at that. And then just reach out and find us. We also help if cannabis is not your niche. We have another program on that. And then we actually just launched this thing behind me. Dope CFO Certified Advisor is actually a national franchise. It's just, we only launched 6 months ago, so it's very, very small. We're being extremely selective on who comes into that piece of the program, but it's been something new and fun where we're hoping to work very, very closely with an accountant for, say, 20 years instead of come into my program, get a little training, and go into my Facebook group. That's a for people that wanted a much deeper dive. And it's actually like a real franchise, like a McDonald's or whatever you think of when you think of franchises.
You just mentioned something. I want to make sure to pick up on it, because some people will think Dope CFO is dope, and some people may say, maybe that's not my bag. But don't bump. You mentioned if people had interest in other industries, could you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, we have a program called CFO Bookkeeper, which is basically for accountants that want to add CFO level services in any industry. I've been a successful CFO and founder for almost 30 years now. And so I've dealt with just gazillions of startups. And so I know how to add value on the CFO side. And it kind of annoyed me. I know there's, I don't know, 10 or 15 CFO programs out there, and most of them are taught by people that, guess what, have never been a CFO. And I'm just like, this is shocking to me. Or maybe someone had a very short-term CFO gig and now they were like, oh, I'm going to go teach everybody. So I like to teach on that side too. But that's real. I'm almost 60. And so my next 10 years, I'll work as long as I can work, because I got to do something. But I'm moving more and more into teaching and mentorship because I just love it. It's fun. And I get to travel, which I like. And it's just a very fun industry for me to be in.
That is super awesome. So one of the traditions we have here in Growth Amplifiers is you've been sharing a lot of great information. We've had a good conversation. But just as a closing thought, what's something that you've learned on your journey that might be helpful for others who are on theirs? It could be related to your industry. It could be completely just anything in life, just something that you've learned that might be helpful for others on theirs.
Okay, well, just read a lot of books for one. I was just going to read something here because I read this morning. I finished this is from the book 4,000 Weeks. This is actually the last paragraph, but let me just read this. Just take a second.
Okay.
Because it's really good. And this, I think we missed it. It's the opposite of what we see on social media all the time. And hopefully this will help somebody. I posted this and got a lot of content or feedback. The average human lifespan is absurdly, terrifyingly, insultingly short. But that is not reason for unremitting despair or for living an anxiety-fueled panic about making the most of your limited time. It's actually cause for relief. You got to give up on something that was always impossible. And what is that? The quest to become the optimized, infinitely capable, emotionally invincible, fully independent person you're officially supposed to be. Then you get to roll up your sleeves and go to work on what's gloriously possible. So it's just that thought of, look, life is short. It's hard. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to conquer the world. Just do your best and focus on the next step. We talk about that. What's the next right step? That's all we need to focus on. Don't let yourself get overwhelmed. Like, I've got to do more, be a better husband and father and CEO and all that stuff. Just guess what? In 100 years, nobody's going to remember any of us. And so we might as well just do the best while we're here.
So thank you very much, Andrew, for sharing with our community. We do appreciate what you've created. If you're an amplifier, that is the ultimate message. Come in bold, come in with that amplified vision, but don't get overwhelmed. Just take it one step at a time. Keep on making those small incremental changes and be the amplifier you're meant to be in the world. Thank you so much, Andrew. Appreciate you for showing up and playing full out.
Awesome.
To show your support, take a moment to amplify this message by sharing it online. To connect with me or gain more business growth insights, visit www.growthamplifiers.com. Thank you for your support.